It's a pleasure to be back here on an event which we curated way back in 2023, Bharat Don Manthan 1.0 with Dr. Jitendra and Bhavna. And it's been great learning. And before we commence the proceedings, I'll now invite the chair of today's session, General Karanveer Singh Brar, former GOC Dakshin Bharat area and the former Director General Ahmad. I'll request General Brar to please come here. Right now, he is the Distinguished Strategic Advisor at the IT Madras and heads Pravartak. And it seems, you see, the panel is all having the military personnel. I'll request GOC 22 Div, General Sandeep Puri, to join us before we commence the proceedings. So I will just give a short introduction to the panelists. On my left is Commodore Golaya, and the edition 1, which happened on, I guess, 22nd March of 24. That was the last day of his uniform, and he was here in the naval, not the fatigues, the white dress, I still remember, if you see the videos and all. And he was with the TDAC and NSCS, so very widely connected. So we have a naval veteran. I've been introduced by Dr. Jitan, I'll not go ahead. Then we have the chair, General Karanveer Brar. Then we have Rukam Naran from the MP IDSA, great think tank. And we've been working very closely when I was in the MOD for the 5 years. And we're looking to the Delhi dialogue in November. And we had a great session 2 weeks back led by Ambassador Chinoy in MB IDSA. Come, Sandeep. It's a great privilege to have your own course mate from the National Defence Academy, General Sandeep Puri, one of the bright sparks of the 82nd India course, also joining. And he's from Kilo Squadron, so we were together in Lima. So that's great. Sandeep, welcome from Merit. He's commanding the division in Merit, and he represents Headquarters Western Command today. So you got this. And thanks to the Chief of Staff, Headquarters Western Command, General Sai, and his team, MDGS Ops, who also happens to be my course mate, Atul Bhatt, our course mate rather, to have really ensured that we have a rep from Headquarters Western Army. We are at North Tech, we had East Tech, so I thought let's have some Western Army officers also for a conclave today. And on to the left is Smit Shah, so the President of Drone Federation of India, and he and me also have been working very closely over the last 5 years to the ecosystem. And the chair which is lying vacant is of Mr. Sai Pattabhiraman. His flight has landed and he'll be here in half an hour's time. So we will finish with the others. And now to take this session forward, I will now request General Karanveer Singh Brar to give his opening remarks. General Brar, please.
Thank you, Colonel Manik. Firstly, thank you to PhD Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to chair this session. And we have a very eminent set of panelists here. So as far as the opening remarks are concerned, I'm not going to speak much. I'll allow them to give their thoughts on something which is very important. So just a couple of points. The theme of the session is Bharat as a global drone hub by 2030. It's a strategic imperative, and the reasons are many. And most of the reasons are known to you, but just I'll highlight. The future war is all about UAVs, UGVs, USVs, UUVs, robotics. But I'd like to, change the definition. We have been using the word drone very often, so the sense is lost sometimes. It is not the drone which is creating all this. It is the technology which is put on the drone which creates all this. So therefore, this difference is very important. The emphasis has to be on the technology. And that's why the drone, otherwise, 40 years back also, I think, as we used to have, even when we were small, planes flying with that remote. So it is the tech which is important. So the future war is all about tech, and the technology it starts with your semiconductors, system on chips, edge computing, your artificial intelligence, communication, navigation, quantum, electronic warfare, and you know all that. And this technology which it brings as a strategic hub, as a strategic imperative, is all dual use. So if any country has to progress, whether it's agriculture, health, medicine, disaster management, environment, urban planning, all these are required. And if you are looking at Viksit Bharat 2047, it's tech which is going to drive it, and the most important being artificial intelligence. Even in the tech which is there in drone, we are now using drone only as a ISR and a targeting means, which is again limited by technology. But I think the work is already on, because I also know some of the things. If you miniaturize your radars and jammers, it will change the game totally. If you can put everything on a drone, but that needs miniaturization of all these gadgets. And I can foresee the so-called drone taking over role of satellites. Satellites is also something in the air, but whatever function the satellite, the drone can also do, again it's a question of technology. So I am emphasizing, and since I come from IIT Madras, it is the tech which is important, and definitions do have a meaning, like Colonel Manik, and we have been having sessions together and he's leading a lot of things. It is not defense procurement, it defense acquisition. Procurement means you're just buying. So, definitions sometimes become important. And being a strategic hub for, global hub for drones, the tech will only come from MSMEs and startups. And if India has to grow as a manufacturing and innovative hub, we have to promote these two agencies. Otherwise, we'll remain as integrators, and startups and MSMEs of other countries will become trillion-dollar companies, which you have seen number of them have come up. So it is India's movement, I think, that China took advantage through technology. South Korea took it, Japan took it, Israel, US of course have been there for a long time. Now I think it is India's turn to use, and I think I will use artificial intelligence as the benchmark. And my second point before I hand over to the panelists is, if the importance is understood for the drone hub to come up, then how it has to be, there are a lot of challenges, how it has to be done. Of course, all of them will speak, but I'll give you some points which I think, with experience of whatever I've seen, for the country to be a global drone hub, there has to be alignment. There has to be a single alignment from the topmost decision maker or the competent authority, the person who's making maybe a chip. Alignment has to be in terms of interest. Alignment has to be in terms of attitude. Alignment has to be in terms of genuineness. Alignment has to be in terms of fairness and transparency, and for the thing that the nation requires it. So this alignment is very, very important in my view. Second thing, this whole chain should not have bureaucracy. I'm not talking of bureaucracy as a profession. The whole chain should have technocrats. But it becomes very difficult for bureaucrats or bureaucratic attitude to make this function. So that is my second point. And the third is the user is extremely important. Again, the user part of the chain has to take personal interest, and he has to drive the operational requirements, and he has to be a technocrat also. There are many examples, but I can give you one or two from the recent conflicts. I think you would be aware, but let's talk Russia, Ukraine, even in Israel. The focus is on short range counter US systems. They are not going too much for long range. And the reason is cost effectiveness. It is simple mathematics. If you have a long range, the circumference which you have to cover increases exponentially. And if you have a shorter counter US systems, they are cheaper and cost. And if in a conflict like Russia, Ukraine, where everything is happening on a daily basis, how many counter US system can you develop? So you have to move with the operations. Second, in let's say the Iran, US, Israel, the long range UAVs, which were slow moving, have become a target. So in a conflict, the survivability is the most important thing. So some of the hail variety, they are okay for situations which are non-conflict like Afghanistan, but they won't survive in a conflict. So the understanding of operational things. Another thing, if you want an ISR UAV, then it better be without signatures. So battery operated are more preferred. So the understanding has to be there. And the timelines of this understanding also have to change. Because I saw there is something called CPRA antenna, which is basically to prevent spoofing and jamming on drones. Now that has become a QR that put a CPRA antenna. But the technology has advanced. If somebody is not using GPS or using alternate means, but if you put that as a QR, his UAV or the drone gets rejected, which may be 10 times more advanced. So the user, as I said, is very important. And I will not take more time, but the Indian conditions are very, very different. We have high altitude, we have peculiar situation, we need to simulate how the things will happen. And we can give credit to Iran that they exactly simulated what they will face and they were ready for it. So our conditions are also quite different from all over the world. So with this, I hand over to the moderator again for the session. Thank you very much.
Insightful comments. So I'll just set the context, right? So how the drones warfare is emerging. Ukraine is a laboratory on an everyday basis. What's happening? You see what's happened in the Gulf. We've seen how MQ-9s are operating in contested environments and they're just falling off the skies. We've seen how the air defense and control reporting of one of the best superpowers in the world has gone awry, losing so many of aircrafts to friendly fire. So where are we, right? So my friend Smith is here. So I forewarned him yesterday what to expect. So there was a clarion call given in 2022 May that Bharat needs to become a global drone hub. I modified it to a manufacturing hub. The DAP 2026 talks of TRL levels. Sindoor, we had a 4-day conflict, right? But if something happens, what's happening in Ukraine, or something happens, what's happening in the Gulf, are we ready for it? Particularly so when our two adversaries, the Western and the Northern, are colluding, very overtly now. What's happened in Sindoor, right? So now, I would now invite General Sandeep Puri, General Officer Commanding 22 Infantry Division, Strike Rapid. Yeah, so I would urge him to give us since Western Command was in the forefront of Ops Sindoor, in fact, my unit officer, the person whom I gave over command to, got a Youth Seva Medal. An AD Brigade commander got a Youth Seva Medal in Ops Sindoor, right? He was commanding the Pathankot AD Brigade. So we want to know from his experience that what's the his perspective as to how the drone warfare has evolved, and what has been the Indian Army's take on the drone capability of our system. Over to you, Sandeep.
Can we have the presentation, please? Yeah, thank you. Distinguished Chair, respected panelists, distinguished guests who are present here today, ladies and gentlemen, indeed a great honor and privilege to be here and to speak and possibly give out land forces perspective from the ground as a field force commander as to what is our perspective on what is emerging with respect to drone warfare, unmanned systems warfare, whatever we are seeing pan out today in front of us. Next slide, please. So I'll not bore you too much with the aspects of theory. Being my postmate, the moderator has been very, very strict and has enforced very, very strict rules on me and told me that I shouldn't bore people and be a little more practical. So just in front of you, you have a scan as far as various conflicts are concerned. What I'll highlight is basically certain key takeaways which are indicating to us what is likely to be the future that we look at as far as incorporating unmanned systems in our warfighting methodology is concerned. So as far as the Iran-US war is concerned, we look at the aspect of proliferation. We look at the aspect of precision strike capability, and we are looking at persistent strike capability using these systems. Russia-Ukraine, I think the biggest takeaway that is coming out is the aspect of learning, unlearning, and coming out with new concepts. So the pace with which adaptation is happening in the Russia-Ukraine context, I think that is the most important takeaway as far as we are concerned. Coming on to Israel-Hamas, this is a specific use case lesson that we draw from here with respect to how unmanned systems can be utilized in built-up areas for conduct of urban warfare. So very, very relevant in our context, especially in the Western Front, wherever we are likely to operate, especially in the areas of Punjab, where we are going to encounter built-up areas. I think very, very relevant lessons that have come out. And last, not the least, of course, is the Ops Sindoor that got played out. I think one of the most important takeaways of Ops Sindoor were at the conceptual level, it gave us a kind of a peek into how we need to evolve our operational concepts to be able to incorporate unmanned systems. Possibly any kind of a future conflict, there is going to be a distinct phase which is going to be fought only using unmanned systems. A non-contact phase which will be led only by unmanned systems, possibly. At the doctrinal level, it indicated to us that there were certain gaps as far as our warfighting doctrines were concerned. They needed to be upgraded, aligned, and made relevant for the future. At the capability development and the equipment acquisition level is concerned, it indicated to us that there was a requirement to move fast and acquire capabilities of different types depending upon the use cases that had been identified. And I'll talk about certain use cases specifically as relevant for the land forces. And last but not the least, and I think very, very relevant, and I consider it part and parcel of the overall drone ecosystem, is the aspect of the counter drone system, which was a very, very major requirement that got highlighted, flagged as far as Ops Sindoor is concerned. Next. So if we see the core takeaways come next, yeah. So these are certain conceptual takeaways that I would like to highlight, that the primacy of non-contact, the requirement of replacement at scale, And I think this is where the industry needs to understand the aspect why it is important to become a drone manufacturing hub. Because once we get into a conflict situation, the replacements that will be required at the scale that they will be required will entail that we have to have manufacturing heft to be able to do that. And lastly, of course, I've already highlighted something which is important for us today as we absorb unmanned systems at scale, rapid adaptation and the availability on site in field conditions to be able to ensure that adaptation of the technologies, the upgradation of softwares and so on and so forth is possible at the field level. Go next. Use cases. I think everybody is aware what are the essential use cases that we normally talk about. Go next. I'll quickly summarize a few of them just to put them into perspective. So if we start with the ISR, I think we're looking at 3 different layers or 3 different levels. So as far as the land forces perspective is concerned, we are looking at persistent, using systems hail, mail, partly and more HAPS and MAPS. So basically high altitude pseudo satellites and medium altitude pseudo satellites. That is what we are looking at. At the operational level, when we have corps and divisions, we are basically looking at tether drone variety, we are looking at longer range, persistent surveillance, and then finally tactical ISR in support of smaller tactical formations inherent to them so that the requisite sensor shooter linkages can be established, the engagements can happen, the kill chain can be activated or converted into a kill web. So that is what we are looking at. Towards the left hand side, if you see the strike capability commensurate to the surveillance capability, we are looking at 3 layers. We are looking at strategic strikes, we are looking at battle space shaping, where essentially we are trying to target any kind of movement, forces coming into the tactical battle area, shape the tactical battle area and ensure success once our own operational forces are committed. And last of course is the strike capability that is required inherent with every unit and formation to be able to make effects on ground using the unmanned systems. More importantly, I want to focus towards the right hand side, swarms, which is still not prevalent at scale, and certain miscellaneous use cases which I have highlighted here. So some of them the chair also spoke about in his initial remarks. So it ranges from logistics, communication relays, airborne command ports, conduct of electronic warfare using airborne systems based on drones. We are looking at, could be propaganda dispensers, leaflet dispensers, engineer recce, and so on and so forth. Go next. One important facet not spoken about too much, not seen too much in the Indian context is the unmanned ground vehicle. Very essential and important as far as the land forces are concerned. Certain use cases, I think again self-explanatory, but very important to be highlighted that these are certain systems at scale which we definitely feel are very, very relevant going forward. Next. Counter US, again, soft kill, hard kill, I think already spoken about adequately. I don't need to cover that. But in the miscellaneous part, I just want to highlight that in addition to the soft kill and the hard kill, there are certain passive and defensive counter drone systems which are equally relevant. And some of them we have tried to, bring out here. You see those inverted U-shaped frames that are now put along the roads in Ukraine for allowing your supply convoys, etc. to move. So can we look at some fast deployable, quickly retrievable kind of such systems which can help us in protecting certain key routes, lines of communication and critical infrastructure. Next. While all this is all right, to make all these unmanned systems work, I think this is the most relevant part which is required to fructify in order to allow the previous things to take place. And this I think is equally relevant in our context when we talk about drones. So sensors, the chair again highlighted this part that we are looking at as the land forces multiple sensor platforms, miniaturized radars mounted on sensor platforms, modular sensor packets which can be mounted on these unmanned systems. You can have SAR mounted on a US today. You can have the moving target indicators. You have multi-spectrum sensors which can be mounted on a common kind of a platform. So this is something which we feel is very, very relevant. Sensors are also required to establish a static ISR grid, which not only feeds in to your routine targeting, but also gives you advance warning of incoming unmanned systems from the adversary. So I think that is something which is very important. All this needs to be linked through networks, and that is also something which needs to be spoken about. We are looking at tactical battle communication systems which are mesh radio software enabled, which can allow you to develop, because decision making at the speed at which it is required to be made can only be possible if this kind of battlefield networks are existing. And then finally, of course, AI, whether it is target recognition, allowing the swarm of drones to actually do their job. I think AI is a great enabler, and without that it is not going to work. At our level, what we feel or what we visualize is also the ability to be able to take decisions and the command and control. The proliferation of unmanned systems in the battlefield tomorrow, if we do not have AI-enabled command and control systems and decision making, it is going to become very difficult to be able to control systems and ensure that the manned-unmanned concept can actually fructify. So this, I think, is again a focus area as far as we are concerned. Go next. So Indian Army has a roadmap. I think it is available for all of you. Most of you would have had a look at it. So we have tried to give out in the next about 5 to 10 year horizon as to what are the various things that we are looking at as far as unmanned systems is concerned. So I think I'll end here the initial intervention. We can discuss a few more issues as part of the question answers. But the bottom line is that unmanned systems are here to stay. The capability that they provide in terms of not only persistence but mass persistence and precision engagement is something that needs to be exploited by any land force in a conflict tomorrow. And to ensure survivability of the human, who is the most important resource, possibly we are coming into an age where we require a different initial phase of conduct of unmanned warfare, thereafter followed by manned warfare once adequately the battle space had been shaped for mopping up and finally achieving your objectives. So I'll end here, and I think we'll take on a few more things during question answers. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen. Smith Shah. He is the president of Drone Federation of India. He has got something called as the Bharat drone stack. So my question to you is, how many drones can Bharat manufacture per month during conflict using predominantly indigenous components, and how can these lost systems be replaced? So just because he's the one who's been leading this drone industry, so just a rough guess. And the same question to Sai, so we just want to see the industry perspective as to, we saw it was a very limited war, 4 days. We have learned our lessons. It's going to be a year now. So yeah, your comments.
Thank you for the question. I think if I have to straight away answer with a number, about 3,000 to 5,000 drones, but dependency on components is currently very high from outside. So it's a two-step process. We build a lot of components, get sustained orders from the Indian Armed Forces, which is all begin, and then use this as a leverage to build our indigenous supply chain. If the pointed question is specifically how many can we build today and does everything reside within the country, then there is no straight answer. So I mean that.
So it is 3,500 per month.
3,000 to 4,000 approximately in a month.
Commander Golaya, a rough figure. What would be the armed forces requirement in a month in a conflict scenario? Any rough guess, or anybody else also, if you want, you can just raise it.
I will answer it in a different way.
Okay.
You mentioned, sir, when you were speaking about, and you also mentioned about replacement at scale, and you mentioned about why dual use. So why is becoming a drone hub a strategic imperative? Why
Absolutely.
is it important from the defense perspective?
Correct.
Now, even if you can manufacture 4,000 or 10,000 or 15,000, how many do you think are being used in the Russia-Ukraine scenario per month, right? So I said this before also. If you want surge manufacturing capability, that means when the push comes to shove, you are ready to scale up. That can be done in two ways. One is by having dual use. That means you're using.
Commander Gulaya, please specific. The answer is what is your
very
assessment?
specific. You cannot
because
give
we've got
an
no
answer.
time for any.
No, I'm sorry. You cannot give an answer about how many would you need. It depends on what kind of a war you will have and how long does the war go on.
What is your
It's a very
assessment?
long question.
What is your assessment as a military
My
professional?
assessment is that you will need surge manufacturing capability when the push comes to shove, which can be done either by having dual use capability or by having excess manufacturing capability through exports. So those are the two things.
Okay,
you need to
thank you.
target. Otherwise, saying that how many do you need 3,000
Okay.
is a meaningless figure.
Thank you. Sai, question to you again is, what is the capacity right now? What do you think of the drone industry? And I would like to, since we are short of time, a brief point regarding the cyber security vulnerability of the drones present in the ecosystem.
As far as the manufacturing is concerned, as far as the manufacturing of drones is concerned, I think we need to do drones need to be designed from the perspective.
I think from the manufacturing perspective, drones need to be designed from a perspective of being assembled by the EMS facilities we have. And if you look at the EMS facilities, I think we are producing millions of phones and millions of computers, millions of laptops, and we have huge international level EMS facility. So I think designing from there has to be in such a way that they can assemble it. So my figure would be that if you want 1 million, we can do 1 million.
No, what is the present capability?
The present situation is the drones have to be designed from that perspective is what I meant.
Okay.
So if you design it from that perspective and you want to do 1 million drones or 100,000 drones a month, you can do it. Because you have the capacity in the EMS facilities. And that is, we need to look at a drone like a phone or like a laptop to be able to
Fine.
go in
So,
for
can
mass
you just tell us about cyber security vulnerability of a drone? What do you think is the problem with some of our drones?
It has become absolutely important as far as cyber security is concerned, because that is one thing that now we've seen a lot of electronic warfare. There is a lot of pressure on the electronics of the drone, electronics within the drone, and so from that perspective, cyber security should be the first and the most important factor. And
so what do you recommend?
There is a framework already in place, which is I think in the process of getting approved. And we have got our drones certified by STQC, and STQC does a.
So should
very
STQC be the
significant
procurement
job in that.
gate? Should STQC certified drones be the procurement gate?
STQC needs to be one of the certifications agencies specifically, for testing this, because they're doing it for the CCTV camera. So on the 1st of April, CCTV cameras are requiring STQC certification. If you look at a drone as a flying CCTV camera, yes, this would also require a certification. And this in fact has a more lethal angle to it than a CCTV camera, which is a passive device. So this has an ability to be misused. So I think this requires it more than anything else.
Okay, thank you. Gurukar Naren, the next question, you are an indigenization champ and you always question, so your question to you is, has the ownership of indigenization of critical components been taken up by any agency in Bharat? If yes, who? And if no, then who should be in the current context?
A simple answer is no.
What do you recommend?
So I think the biggest drone manufacturer this time is not going to be civil but military. Why I say is Indian Army has formed various formations which intend to manufacture drones, whether in collaboration with the industry or whether they go alone. But there is a concerted effort to build. The problem today is Indian Army doesn't have a roadmap for Atmanirbharta in critical systems.
Indian Army, Indian Armed Forces.
Indian Armed Forces. Sorry.
Yep.
So we don't have a roadmap for Atmanirbharta in critical technologies even today. Secondly, number of indigenous, we have taken a lot of initiatives. Indian Armed Forces have a center of excellence or technology cells in IITs. They also have collaboration with the private industry, incubation cells, and there is an inter-agency collaborations also. I'm not discounting the individual effort made by various entities, but as a holistic roadmap.
Who should you think should be responsible? Who should head this?
No, it's a little difficult because remember, Ministry of Defense
No, just what do you think? Who should see in the armed forces the principles of war, unity of command and control, right? There has to be one boss. You can't have so many people. That's
So
the
I
problem
think-
with this.
See, if I look at Air Force, Army and Navy, I will be, more curious to get the equipment. So I think a higher organization like Headwater IDS or DMA should do a little more dispassionate analysis of what critical technologies will impact.
Okay, thank you. Headquarter IDS. That's a good question. So, Commander Golaya, coming to headquarter IDS, do you think that we are ensuring commonality and interoperability as far as drones is concerned in the true sense of the word?
So again, do we need to ensure commonality and interoperability? I'll tell you why. Standardization and innovation are at variance. Anything, if you standardize, you cannot innovate. Standardization kills innovation. Interoperability and everything, there are various means of working it. If you keep standardizing things, you will never be at the cutting edge. And I want to make a quick point here. And I know you're short of time, but just give me 2 minutes.
1 minute, only 1 minute per
Okay,
answer, please.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Historical examples, starting from when the longbow was invented, the 100 Years' War, Battle of Tsushima, where EW made the presence for the first time. So even if you take, everybody's talking about Russia, Ukraine, but the drones, the presence which they made felt in, say, Armenia, Azerbaijan, right now in Russia, Ukraine has become a battle of attrition. The technology when it comes for the first time, or the counter technology when it comes for the first time, it has an impact. After that, the returns are always diminishing. So if you're saying that we will only play catch up and we follow what's happening, say, in Russia or in the Middle East, then that is not going to have the kind of impact which you want, because impact is always in the first.
Are we doing a good job?
And yes, we are. So if they're more than, I don't know how many the figure right now, but if they're 900,000 drone companies, most of them, and I am an industry supporter, but I still say this, there are about a handful who are doing actual innovation. They're getting orders, they're getting
Okay,
orders.
thank you, Commander
If they're not
Golaya.
doing innovation,
Yeah, okay. Sandy, question to you. You know Sindoor, and what's the takeaway? HEROPS, WB, loiter munitions. What has been the performance of the indigenous defense systems, the counter this thing? What I could see from the thing that HEROPS did a good job, something from Israel, WB Cummings from Poland. So what is your take on how did the indigenous UAV systems perform?
So as far as the performance in Sindoor is concerned, I think we did a fairly good job. And the best part of the response was that we adapted very fast. And two things stand out. One was the coordination for the agencies on ground to be able to basically look at the defensive part, that is the counter drone part. So that worked out well. Networks that were in place performed adequately, and I think we did a fairly good job. But more importantly, the salient takeaway was that we had already been talking about unmanned systems and their availability and their incorporation in our field forces. But Sindoor gave us a little bit of a jolt, like I covered initially, that organizationally and capability development wise, it indicated to us that there was a requirement to kind of upscale very fast. And towards that, strike capability at distances of 1,000, 1,500 kilometers, coming downwards right till 100, 200 kilometers is something I felt that it was a major takeaway that we needed. We needed more flexibility, we needed more solutions, we needed more options that were available with the ground forces. And lastly, the most important, again I covered it slightly earlier also, counter US. The ability to be able to have a layered counter US architecture which was networked and thereafter connected to a robust command control and decision making center which could immediately take decisions with respect to ensuring that we avoided friendly fire, positively identified the threat, and were able to launch a response system commensurate to the threat to be able to take get it down. So I think these are the essential takeaways.
Thank you. Okay, Smith, the industry perspective, and I'll come to Sai later. Ease of doing business index, we are, I think, 62nd in the world coming to drones. So do you think that the compliance to the regulatory provisions of the defense industrial license, the issue of the type certification for the industry, is it more time consuming for a startup or MSME? Can the turnaround times be reduced? What is the ease of doing business index as far as this type certification, DIL? Is it time consuming? Because we mentioned a lot of startups, they say it's quite time consuming and it's not investment friendly.
I'll give you very short specific examples. Defense industrial license, and it's an anecdote I keep giving. On one hand, we want startups incubated at IIT to build products for the armed forces. And on the other hand, when they want to supply at scale, they need a defense industrial license which needs you to have a own plot of land, own building, everything. You can't share the premise and all of that. I think more focus is actually on the administrative aspect rather than the specific security aspects. So I think there is some harmony that we need to bring in terms of focusing on the security aspects.
How can we do that? Are you satisfied that turnaround times for DIL and type certification?
You force very short examples. Defense industrial license more focuses on administrative control of the property and the physical aspects of security.
What can be done?
Focus more on the cyber security aspects and the access control aspects and the security manual, and not just the ownership of the land and the plot. If I have to put it in one line as such.
Is it an ecosystem issue?
I think it's the manner in which we look at security. So currently the first focus of giving an industrial license is to have physically hardened security and the administrative part of it, and not the security from a access control, information security and cyber security part of it. And again the dichotomy, right? We want startups to be out of...
Thank you. Sai, your take. Quick 30 seconds. The question is very specific.
See, the simple answer is today if you were to go by the current way of defense industrial license, Apple wouldn't qualify to be a supplier to the defense. The simple reason is Apple does not have a factory. They get it outsourced manufacturers. You want surge manufacturing capacity, outsource is the way. So with this kind of a dichotomy, as Smith highlighted, how do you expect the industry to really work? Because new age technology...
Can we reduce the TAT of DIL and type certification?
New age technology... Now I'm coming to the DIL part only. New age technology does not... You get funded by investors. Investors do not like fixed costs. They are willing to fund variable working capital and variable costs, but not fixed costs. So a company or a startup which is funded by investors, in most probability wouldn't have the kind of assets required for a DIL.
Okay, thank you. Group Narang, again, a question of indigenization. If drones are having such a pronounced effect, shouldn't we have had the design link incentive scheme implemented for drones by now? Design incentive scheme.
Absolutely.
Are we behind the curve? Is there a delay?
The problem is not only design incentive scheme, the problem is also the procurement. None of our procurement orders demand critical indigenous component that have been made. I'm not talking of the one which do not exist. I'm not talking of magnets, I'm not talking of chips. I'm talking of those components which are existing and we are using imported components. There are a lot of sensors being done. Navy has done, Air Force has done, even Army has done some initiatives. But when the procurement orders in emergency procurement or any such initiative is done, there is no standard, first of all, repository within the organization to know what all has been made in India, including through IDEX. So when I see an Army EME workshop or a zonal workshop placing an order, they don't have...
Just a question of IDEX, I asked the DIO during the St. Joe's seminar, I think you were also there. 8 years IDEX, which is the production line which has been established by now? Are the prototypes actually going into productionize? We're talking of manufacturing surge as Commodore Goliath, Chair and General Puri were talking about. So IDEX is fine, 8 years is fine, but where is the production line of anything?
That's exactly point. Like I was visiting one of the company which has innovated, is an IDEX winner. So I asked him, why don't you increase the production? He says, for production I need 6 crores to get one particular machine. But I don't have the orders to place that those large numbers. So I think hand holding will come when there is a consolidation of requirement by the defense services, and Indian Army is going to be the largest user in small drone segment, without doubt. If anyone can do it today, I think it is the Indian Army can take the lead, and of course, Ministry of Civil Aviation, which is certifying civil drones, has to create an incentive. The third initiative is government e-marketplace. There is no
Is RA issue on GEM?
RA?
Reverse auction.
No, reverse auction is a problem, you know it yourself. My issue is even those who have innovated in IDEX, those which have designed a product in IDEX, there's no separate vertical and there's no separate priority for those innovating in India. So I think those
Okay,
are...
Sai wants to come, yeah.
I just want to highlight our own case. The patent was filed in 2015. We got the, it was granted in 2024. And till today, there has been no decimation of information, no way to capture any information about this particular patent, which was a core computing patent for unmanned systems. There's no way in the last 9 years to 10 years, I'm telling you even till today, maybe 12 years, there is absolutely no system to capture innovation from various silos into a common pool.
Absolutely right. So, DAP 2026 in draft version talks of TRL levels. Are we still at TRL level? What about surge capacity? That is MRL levels. I think we should be talking MRL levels. There is a thing in the DAP which says that we're going to have a single industry partner order. That's a great thing to come. But they should also be saying that, a partner should be able to manufacture in bulk. And then only we shouldn't give the order. Okay, now I'll open the audience for some questions. Please introduce yourself, and you have to be very brief, cryptic. I don't want any padding. We are running short of time because the air chief's coming. Yes, the gentleman on the back. Please introduce yourself first. Yeah. Can the mic go there fast? Okay, please go ahead.
I'll be loud enough, sir.
Okay, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Group Captain Vibhuti Prakash, retired from Indian Air Force.
Yeah.
Presently working as a consultant with one of the aerodrome robotics.
Yeah.
My first question is to Mr. Shaw, and second,
Please be brief. Yeah.
So what would be the production capability once the import on drone related electronic components is banned completely?
Smith, okay. Smith, yeah, one second. Smith, please answer this question. Yeah.
Electronics is a two-part system. You build flight controllers, there is a lot of capability already in the country. You prohibit semiconductor, nothing will be made in India. So, we need to understand the depth of what indigenization we can do today, what we can do tomorrow, what is capable in India, what is not capable in India, and then answer in that context.
Yeah, that we understand.
Okay. Next question, please.
Next question is to Commodore, sir. Thank you, sir, for telling us about
Short.
Harap and Warmet, because I am the one who got Harap inducted into Indian Air Force. So,
Question, please.
Question to Commodore, sir. Have you conducted any study how this Harap and the Warmet performed so beautifully during Ops Indoor, and the same thing has been passed on to others? Because those are the only...
Okay, thank you, please. Yeah.
So, Harap, I think you spoke about, not me.
Yeah.
But I'll answer the question about have we done any study about why. So, not only that, I think any conflict which happens, or even if a conflict doesn't happen, even in exercises, you've been in the services, it's a continuous learning process. You keep analyzing, even in exercises, what went right, what went wrong, and what changes are needed. So, that would be an ongoing thing. Have we done a study? I'm sure the services have.
I think he may not be able to answer.
Lessons would have been learned, but
yeah.
it will not be put in the public domain.
Yeah, they will not be. Yeah, the gentleman here in the center. Yeah, please introduce yourself short and crisp. Yeah.
My name is Nalin. We are a drone design company in Delhi. So the question that
Can we have the mic going somewhere? Yeah, be louder.
the question that was asked was like how many drones were produced by Ukraine? Because the number is 4 million drones were produced last.
That's fine. What is the question?
So, my question is regarding that only. So do we have any planning or this thing to make drones in millions? Because we are designing certain types.
Whom are you addressing the question to?
So anyone can answer this.
Anybody can answer.
And
Okay. The figure has already been given, I think, by Smith and us. Yeah.
But that is in thousands.
Yeah, it is in thousands. Yeah.
But we have to go
Yes, we have to
at least,
graduate.
5 to 6 million.
Thank
per
you.
annum.
Thank you. Yes. Anyone? Yeah. Siddhant.
My name is Siddhant. Thank you everyone for a wonderful panel. My name is Siddhant Vyas. I'm a professor of law at Jindal Global Law School. I have a question generally for the panel. So let's say we have identified as the HQ IDS as the appropriate institutional owner. What formal mechanisms would enable it to translate tri-service capability requirements into common standards, critical component priorities?
Short, Siddhant, short.
And a priority demand signal for industry. At the same time,
One second. Sandeep, if you would like to take on this question, being a military guy, how IDS would able to do that?
That was floated as prospectively the appropriate institutional owner.
Your take on
Very-
John Puri and then Smith, yeah, because the military question, yeah.
It's basically an issue of ensuring standardization to some extent, depending upon the requirement of each service. Looking at interoperability so that tasks done by one can be utilized to actuate or trigger certain responders in the different service. So who can do it? IDS can do it. There are already existing acquisition structures that are there in IDS which are already looking at it. So possibly each of the three services we have some kind of a system or we have some kind of a cell that has been created essentially for acquisition of unmanned systems. All of them will feed into the concerned vertical in HQ IDS to be able to standardize our ORs, operational requirements and capabilities that are desired. So structures are already in place. It is just that it is a focused acquisition being carried out of a particular system. So otherwise, nothing new needs to be created.
Yeah, thank you.
One more thing that is not happening has to be done, which is essentially identify common technology areas across all platforms, equipments and all. Like semiconductors, one example, communication modules, another example, and so many other technologies that are not components but sub-components essentially. That is what should be taken up, and then commonality between all of these equipments should be a national mission to indigenize. If you come and say, I want to build a semiconductor for a drone flight controller, the question actually is wrong, not the answer. So the semiconductor that is used in a flight controller and flight controller in a drone, and the semiconductor is only an anecdotal example to make the point, is actually a reusable semiconductor that can be used in 20 other robotic applications. So we have to find the commonality at the third level and then build for indigenization there, rather than talk about who is making the drone and then who is making the motor and then who's making the magnet for it. When you come to magnet, you have to look at cross-industry, cross-platform, across various aspects.
Okay, last question, the elder gentleman next to you, yeah.
One line, which I have never lost. What is the state of engines? Are they being imported? Are they being made in India?
UAV engines?
All the propulsion systems for the drones, are they being made in India? Are they being imported? Because the level of drones is going to jet engines. Do we have them in India?
Commodore Golaya.
So, sir, coming to engines, as I discussed with you in the morning also, there are at least 2-3 firms which I am aware who are making miniaturized jet engines. The other engines, the more simpler ones, in fact, through the day, you will have quite a few people who will be talking about what their firms are doing, you'll see. So people are making engines, not the very big ones, but if you talk to the smaller ones, yes, they're being made. When it comes to electric motors, again, I think, and the innovative ones, because I focus on innovation. In the stalls, you'll be able to see one firm who's talking about 3D printed motors, that is AirBuddy. There's another firm which is specializing in axial flux motors. So yes, things are happening as far as the propulsion part is concerned. For drones, yes, I think we are on the right.
Last word, Group Captain Narang, before I wind up.
Thank you. There are some capabilities existing in India which are lesser known. CVRD engine made for Nisha. NAL made some engine. Similarly, some other entities.
We were also talking of LC autopilot, being, for a drone, or a male or a UAV also, right?
Yeah. So there are capabilities which are lying in segments, but again, indigenous manufacturers are using existing system which they are collaborating or they are imitating in the global market. So that's the problem. Indigenous capability scanning, if it is done and if we decide, what did Iran do? It picked up a German moped engine, but it got the full technology and it is able to scale up today. Now, that kind of ownership, if it comes, I think we will be able to achieve much more.
Thank you, Captain Narang. So, okay, before I just conclude and hand over the chair for his concluding remarks, because we're hopefully short of time. So, my take, there's a wonderful policy in place. There's a talk of a L1 narrative. If somebody talks L1, then he's not read DAP 2022. he does not know what QCBS is, and that's why the L1 narrative which needs to be dispelled. I think for Bharat becoming a drone manufacturing hub, the entire ecosystem needs to work together. We need to remove the unethical practices. We need to work, we're working in silos right now. I was very happy to see at the ANRF conclave at FICCI, where now it is, I got one idea that ANRF is the one which is going to, be responsible for R&D in this country, including DRDO, right? So I think there has to be a coordination. We need to have a common national security vision, across all stakeholders, which I think is the biggest impediment right now to Bharat becoming a drone manufacturing hub. It should be a national priority, seeing what's happened in Ukraine and the ongoing Gulf conflict, especially with our two adversaries on the western and the northern front acting in a most overt manner. Thank you. I now hand you to General Bharat for his final remarks. Thank you.
Time was too short, I can see that, but nonetheless, I think if you pick up the right points, we'll go the right way. I think all of them, and including me, have given you some points. I'll just clarify, there was some, of course, not an incorrect thing, that Indian Armed Forces don't have a roadmap. But in my view, it is the problem is not we don't have a roadmap, the problem is we are having too many roadmaps. Every chap is making his own roadmap. And these roadmaps are not aligning to one single point. We are working in silos. There's no dearth of talent. I can tell you, I am coming from southern India. All your NVIDIA engineers, your Google engineers, every design work which you see in the world, the best is happening in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai. So who is saying talent is not there? So only thing is, we are not creating an ecosystem by which these guys leave those companies and start your Indian Palantir and all these other companies. So we have to initiate that push so that you get the right ecosystem. So I don't agree that we don't have talent. We have the roadmap, so somebody has to do it. So the point is, who takes the ownership? That's a very good point, because now we have to either you create something like a DARPA. It can't be, I feel, the IDS or the armed forces, they are involved in their daily work and they get posted in appointments. You have to create a body, whichever body is existing, just empower it. That I leave it to the various decision makers, they can do that. The next point which came was how many drones are required and what scale. But again, I will go to, if you have the technology, you can scale up. The manufacturing is not a problem which Mr. Sai mentioned. We have enough people who can manufacture. The thing is, we don't have the tech. If you have the tech with you, you can scale up. Take Ukraine example. In the beginning of their war, they were buying things from all over the world. Now they are exporting to the world as well as fighting, because they have the things. So people are going to Ukraine to see what they are doing, and they are well ahead of everybody else, I think. And as far as indigenization, again, it's related to talent. It can be done. The organization Parvatak where come, something which was used in Sindoor for communications, which did give it a lot of success, was made in 1 year. So everything can be done. So the closing point, I will only say yes. One point I like to give: this reverse auction has to stop. It kills technology. You bring in traders, you don't bring in technology by reverse auction. I will only close by saying that instead of giving problem statements or using the word problem, we should say, please give us technical solutions. You need to change the word. And similarly, instead of saying we need orders, again it is money related. Please talk in terms of capability. So the industry should also say what capability they can give, and the users should also see what capability I am getting instead of orders. So I think I can close, because I think you should. Thank you to the wonderful audience and to the panel and the organizer. Thank you, Jai Hind.